keep sticking my dick in. So.
Well, stop it.
Yeah, seriously, dude.
Do you want crazy people around you?
That's how you get crazy people around you.
Stop sticking your dick in it.
Or are they just crazy because you don't understand them?
Yeah, man.
No.
All right. So I want to start with General Jay's Revolutionary Army. Because that was the other ridiculous thing you were talking about last week.
The armed revolution last week.
You were calling for armed revolution last week, and I want to talk about that more.
Oh, okay, yeah, that was me in the middle of being all fucked up.
This country is burning down.
Yeah, that's right. I'll read this shit later.
So are you backing off that claim? Are you backing off that claim as well?
Okay, what claim?
That's
armed
the
revolution?
only way to put this country back on track is to start an armed revolution.
Not entirely, no. Now, the reason I say that is because I do think the system is heavily flawed. And
Sure. All systems will be. All human systems will be heavily flawed.
Sure, and I'm not saying that, okay, historically speaking, every nation has fallen. And we're no different. We're young and we're stupid. And we are on a faster track for our country to implode from within, not necessarily by armed revolution, but then we are...
Although that'd be a really good way to do it.
It would be, yes. But we are on a faster track for failure in that by our own means and our shitty system than we are from armed revolution or either that or changing things by following the system.
Isn't revolution another good way of ending a country, though?
Well, that's true, yes.
So do you want to end the country or have a...
I think reformation needs to happen.
I agree with that 100%. I think killing people is the worst way of doing that. I'm just wondering, what is it that is going on in this country that you think is worth killing people over?
How about the things that aren't just happening in our country?
Okay.
The fact that we have military bases in just about every other country, whereas we don't allow military bases on our own soil.
I don't know that that's entirely true.
It may not be entirely true, but for the vast majority.
The other thing is that the countries where we have military bases,
It's agreed upon.
Yeah, right. They want us there. Like
we're world fucking police, though.
South Korea, we're on their border. The reason we're there is
Yeah.
because North Korea is not going to come over that border if they know that they're going to have to kill some Americans to do it.
There are some good reasons to have military bases in some of these places.
Sure.
But we're playing world fucking police.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that the Ukraine... Sorry, I'm an old guy. Ukraine is no longer
Google.
the Ukraine. It used to be the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Ukraine, I bet you right now they wish that they had signed that agreement with us. Now, backing off that, though, I will say that I think that we should not be the world police.
Would Russia have even let Ukraine agree to that, though? I mean, I know they don't have any power over them, but at the same time, I would think Russia would have gone like, hey, you best fucking not.
They would probably have postured, and it would have led to some conflict, but they couldn't stop it. I mean, they're not going to. No one is going to bring on a war. I mean, you look at what happened in the 80s with Ronald Reagan doing Star Wars. The Soviet Union was like, you cannot do it, you cannot do it. It turns out we couldn't do it, but we were like, oh, hell yeah, we can, and we did. And what we ended up doing is getting concessions from them in order, in exchange for pulling back on this thing that we couldn't do, which the Israelis have now done, which is interesting. But do you think let me just be clear. Mm-hmm. Do you think having military bases in other countries is worth killing Americans over?
No, not directly.
Okay. So what is wrong with this country that you think is worth killing other Americans over?
There's a lot of things wrong in
like
the country.
What? No. I agree with that. Worth killing people.
You know my stance on population.
But I don't know it yet, though. So.
Okay, I think there are too many fucking people on the planet.
And that's worth killing people over.
I think that eventually people are going to die anyway.
That's true. But there's a difference between letting people die or people just dying on their own and you actively killing them with a rifle.
I would much rather see them die via natural.
But won't they do that?
things.
If all
Not
of what
fast
you think
enough, not fast enough to create change that is going to make a difference.
So you think that you are justified in killing Americans because of this change you think is awful?
I never said that. You're putting words in my mouth now.
Oh, we're misrepresenting your opinion. Correct.
Here's my stance, okay? Is the fact that there are so many people in this world that it's very, very, very difficult to get everyone united behind a cause to actually preserve our own well-being. We are killing ourselves faster than we would had we had the respect for the things like our environment and our resources. And the fewer people there are, those resources will A, last longer, but B, if there's a large die-off event of some kind, then if there's a large die-off event of some kind, then the people that are left are going to have a lot more respect for the things that caused that, and a lot more tendency to.
Not if it's human caused though. Not if it's a pogrom. Not if you are slaughtering people. They're
No, I
not
agree.
going
No,
to.
no, I'm not saying.
So I think
that,
that's an argument against what you're.
No, I'm not saying that the armed revolution is a means to that end. That's not at all.
Well, that's the question we're driving towards.
Right.
What is a
Sure,
good enough
sure.
cause to drive towards armed revolution and kill other Americans?
The fact that we are losing liberties in all sorts of facets at an alarming rate.
Which particular lost liberties are worth killing other Americans over?
I feel like
you don't want me to say these things.
it's post show. I do want you to say them, but I really feel like this is an emotion based position and not you're not intellectually engaged in that position. I think you feel like there's something. Let me just talk this out. I feel like there are a lot of problems with this country and this world, and you feel that. I feel that.
I feel that.
And I feel like you are letting the emotion.
Sure, I agree with you.
Suddenly we have like these plain motherfuckers.
I agree with what
feel
you're
like,
saying.
I feel like your
you're right.
position is emotion based, not intellectually based, or morality based for that matter.
Yeah, it's definitely not morality based. You're right about that, and a large part of that is because I'm impatient when it comes to these things,
Sure.
And I think the longer that it takes to happen, the more damage occurs.
That's true.
I would much if there was, again, I've told you this 100 times if I've told you once. If you can come up with a viable, probable way to make these things happen, okay, efficiently and quickly, then I'll get behind it.
People
Voting,
have to vote.
voting,
People
voting
have to
is-
vote.
Voting,
do you
we've
know?
been doing that for
No, we haven't.
No,
Do you know what
Actually,
the-
the levels of voter participation and the last turnout are the lowest they've ever been, ever.
Why do you think
in
that is?
America?
Why do you think that is? Because people are
Because-
fucking realizing
no,
it doesn't fucking
no,
matter.
no, no,
I
no.
think so.
No,
I think so. I don't know
because
so, but I
these
think
are-
so.
These are people who've never voted, and particularly in the state of Texas. I mean, we're talking about less than half the people in the state vote, and the reason, in my mind, is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. The people who
Sure,
aren't
I get what you're saying.
The people who aren't voting are people who are just making it.
They have too much. They have too many needs otherwise.
Yes, they have a lot of stuff on their plate. They have a lot of challenges and a lot of difficulties in their lives that voting doesn't even come up as a priority.
Taking off work is not one of those things.
Right,
Sure.
and the powers that be. I mean,
It's too inconvenient for them.
exactly, and the powers that be. This is where actual voter manipulation actually occurs. Is that they try to make it as difficult as possible for those people because they know they're going to vote against them. This is where the actual voter suppression occurs. It's not like they're not adjusting the results. They're adjusting the inputs. The inputs work. If the people said, if you and 40% of the people who aren't voting voted, this state would change overnight.
Let me introduce another facet of a thought, a belief, is that if every single human being in the United States that was able to vote voted for every election, I don't think it would help things much.
I do.
I don't, because I think there are so many fucking morons who would vote in illogical, stupid,
Not for
irrational
long.
ways.
Not for long.
What's going to stop
because
them?
What will stop them is that they would actually bear the results of what their decisions were, and that would change things a lot. I do want to kind of change the subject just a little bit because Tech Leslie in our chat room says Jay's a burner. He believes in participation. What does that mean? Do you know what that means?
I know exactly what that means.
What does that mean?
Okay, this is a total
That's
offshoot.
fine.
I'm
That's
about to
fine.
plug some shit.
Okay, go for it.
All right, so I've discussed it briefly. Burning Man, the big ass thing that happens in the desert every year.
I'm aware.
So there are smaller regional burn events that happen all over the country. Texas has the second largest one. It's outside of Austin.
Whoa. Texas has the second largest one.
Yes. The second largest burn event short of Burning Man. So it is the first largest regional burn. And there are several others. It's a culture that I'm heavily involved in. And there are 10 principles by which the community exists. I'm not going to go through them all because I just can't rattle them all off the top of my head.
Okay.
But one of those is communal effort and radical self-inclusion.
Okay.
So that means, radical self-inclusion is be part of the experience. Participation is another one. Participate, be part of the experience. Communal effort. Jump in, do it. Help everyone else. Help the people around you. If somebody needs something, hey, you give it to them. Hey, you give them your time, your help. That's what she's talking about, is the burning principles, wherein I believe in participation. Now, I'm going to take a second here to promote the Burners Without Borders thing.
And
that's going
then
on
I'm going to back
locally.
up, but go ahead.
We actually had a news spot the other day. I don't know if you saw. Some dude, I don't know, with Nueces County went out to a shotgun shell
Yeah, I
range that's
saw
on the
that.
island.
Yep.
And, he wants to. He's very politically motivated. And Nueces County has been trying to get that land, the GLO land, for a long time. The federal agency, the National Seashore, the Parks and Services, National Parks and Services, tried to acquire it as well. That fell through. It's currently in Clayburgh County hands, and
Didn't they agree that Nueces County was going to buy it?
there's been several agreements over
I
the
think
years.
they did. I think they just did, though.
There's been several agreements over,
Okay.
over the years, and this battle's been going on for decades
All right.
over this land. But the long and the short of it is, this guy went out there and he went to this shotgun shell range that's trashed. It's thrashed. There's all sorts of crap out there, and he said, we need to, if we bought it, we could send people out here. We could have law enforcement and blah blah blah, and clean it up and maintain it and da 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 da. I don't think that will actually happen, and even if it did, it would just be a further tax on our law enforcement as it is. But Burners Without Borders Corpus Christi has had cleanups out there. We've had 2 cleanups out there, and we have plans for additional cleanups that are already scheduled. Well, they're actually going to be scheduled on the 3rd. But we've already been cleaning it up. We're taking care of it. It's not a matter of law enforcement needing to be out there. It's a matter of community being out there. And further than that, our goal is to change the culture of use of not only that area, but the beaches, clean them up. We're cleaning up the beaches. We've had cleanups out there, all this stuff.
Let me interrupt.
Okay, so
Sorry,
back
let
up.
me
Yeah,
choke
go ahead.
and interrupt you for a second. I'm not going to back up. Just Jesus Christ, dude.
It's bedtime.
That totally derailed me. So we were talking earlier, not last week, but the week before, about what your group is trying to accomplish, and what I think that the cleanup stuff is great. Corpus Christi Atheist does that. South Texas Coalition of Reason does that. But I mean, that is a never-ending chore when people are out there
Yes,
just
it is.
doing it.
It is.
It never ends. And so what I think, what you posted the other day, which I latched onto, which is changing
The culture of
the
use.
culture of it. And I think that is far more important than cleaning shit up. Because I have personally in this
Right.
town cleaned up shit every year, every couple of months for 5 years. And I will never run out of shit to clean up in this town if people just keep throwing it down there. What are you grinning at?
Leslie's trying to throw the burner philosophy back
She's
at
trying
me.
to logic him.
It's working.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it totally is. I mean, she knows
She's
what she's talking
right.
about.
Tech Leslie says, as a burner, he should also believe in immediacy, which includes the what?
Participation in society. Currently, our society is set up and governed by the people in a way that the people choose representation in what I would consider a rather flawed system. But it is still a system, and you participate in the system by voting. And guess what you don't fucking do, Jay?
Sure. What she fails to realize is that the burner community is actually, when you're at a burn and you're involving yourself in these principles, you're exiting what a lot of them refer to as the default reality, and you're entering a different society because you really are, and you have
Sure.
you have to go to one of these events to really understand what
That's
that means.
cultural and temporary, though. What she's talking
it
about is the world you live in, which exists after the burn.
Sure, and I agree. And that is something that I strive to carry out. But
Not
I'm not
much.
going. I'm not going to participate in that society with any sense of immediacy whatsoever if I believe it's flawed. Because why would I participate in something that's flawed? Another thing that she doesn't get is what we're doing down here is completely and totally aside from a lot of the core setup and the core system that Burning Man runs on, because it is flawed. So we're changing it.
Do you believe that the Burning Man system is completely flawless?
No, nothing
That's
is
what
completely
Glenn
flawless.
likes.
So
Yeah.
why do you participate in it if it's not
Especially
completely flawless?
with immediacy. If it's a flawed system,
Yeah, you just said you won't participate in democracy because it's flawed.
These are the principles that burners adopt at burn events. I go to these events not simply to participate within this realm of tenets. I do it because it's an amazing fucking experience being around other people that are experiencing the same thing. It's not just about these principles. These are guidelines through which things work, and things work with in a fashion that is far superior to what I can.
Could democracy be a pleasurable and wonderful experience too?
I don't know, because I think democracy.
I think our democracy is very broken. I think you're
You're right.
right.
It's
I think
no
you're right,
longer a
but
democracy.
Well, I don't agree
It's a
with that.
plutocracy.
I think it's too
Well,
slow.
okay, I'll
That's what I
agree.
think.
Okay, I'll agree with that. But I think it's a plutocracy because the people, and I'm going to include you in this,
Go ahead.
are not participating, and that companies don't have control if you vote. If you vote against their will, they lose it. What they do, and this is true of a lot of things. I mean, let's go back to cigarette companies who threw out bullshit science
Sure.
in order to keep people from understanding that cigarettes caused you to die. Let's go to these climate denier guys that we talked about today. This William Hepper motherfucker. He takes money to fool people and to get them. We talked about this. I know you weren't here for the Peter Boghossian interview, but I talked to him a little bit about burnout. That people lie to you constantly, and you get all of this disinformation, and it can be tiring
Sure.
to address it day in and day out. But if you buck up and do it, you can defeat these people very easily if you resist what they're trying to do. And what they're trying to do is make you think voting doesn't matter, make you think that the plutocracy is the way it has to happen. And I think you're a victim of the system that you hate.
Okay, that's
And
probably
you're
fair.
you're perpetuating it
Now, I
by
won't say-
being a victim.
I won't say that I will not say for 100% certainty that voting will never work to change things and completely change things around and change our country for, to become a better, more or less flawed system. What I will say is that it's going to take so long, and the probability of that actually happening within my lifetime is so fucking slim that I really don't see the point.
And that's why the possibility is very slim, because you and everyone else say it can't be done. If you and everybody else said we can do this, si se puede.
Okay. I mean, and I see your point.
Thank you, Cesar Chavez.
I'm not going to argue that point, because
You can't.
It's entirely possible that sure, the voting system can work in enough ways, in small ways, enough to start that ball rolling and get enough things changed that it can work to a better effect and a greater effect, and eventually over time, sure. But is that something that I think is probable? No, it's not probable. It's highly improbable.
Because of what you're saying, though.
It's highly improbable.
Because of what you're saying.
Maybe it's self-perpetuating. Regardless. Okay, so it's self-perpetuating. Great.
If you and all of the people who thought the same way that you did, with all of the people who were sitting there saying, no, nothing's going to change, there's no point in doing it, if every single one of you actually went out and voted according to your political stance on things, all of the people that are the disgusting
Sure.
conservatives
I understand.
would not be in office.
I understand what you're saying. So
It's
fine.
by you not voting that they are actually in office.
And to give you my politician hand, okay? If you can come up with a way that convinces me that we can make a difference and convince enough people to make this big arching change, this overarching change, and have enough people come out in enough force, I'll get behind it.
We'll see.
But I don't see that happening.
Up until last.
So by telling you that it's your fault doesn't actually mean anything?
No, it doesn't.
Well, up until last week, I actually shared a very similar opinion to what yours is. I am also not registered to vote, and I didn't feel that voting was really worth it because it's too slow. However, after the last show and actually looking at what evidence there is for voting, especially when you look at the Tea Party and what they've accomplished in such a short time, they have literally voted out the second most powerful Republican out of office, and that has never happened ever. And because they went out and voted, they made that happen. Same thing with women's rights. They I don't know exactly how rapidly, but within the course of 50 years, they've made great leaps and bounds over where they were at before they could vote. And so when I looked at it, I saw that my feelings about voting weren't based on the evidence that was right in front of my face. I was disregarding it because I felt instead of knew that the system was wrong or too slow or not worth it.
That's amazing, and that's exactly right. Because you're busy typing out into the
No, I'm
chat
listening.
room.
I was listening.
No. I'm going to address what you were saying in the chat, the chat room, because you were saying, sure, it all happens because enough people banded together. Dude, it happens. It starts with you. You gotta help this.
Provide. Like I said just there, show me a campaign that has a fighting chance of working, that has a high probability of making an actual effort, and I will get behind it, and I will join you. But to this date, I haven't.
What works is one person deciding to make the change and then persuading other people to do it. Currently, what you're doing is trying to persuade other people not to, that it's useless.
I'm not persuading anyone. I'm not trying to persuade anyone.
You're not, but you're effectively doing it.
I'm advocating.
Anyway.
You are speaking to the contrary on the benefits of voting.
Sure.
Which is
only when
standing
people address it.
Well, and that's when it matters. When it's being addressed, is speaking positively to it.
Right.
Okay, great.
Give
me a campaign.
Here's the campaign. You're gonna vote. We're gonna have people.
I told you my terms for voting.
Well,
but here's the other thing. I think Amanda is supposed to be on the show next week. I think she can still register voters.
I can too.
Yeah, you're some sort of deputy or something.
All right. Can we register you to vote next week?
I would love that.
Awesome. We're gonna do that too. So, do the voting thing. And let me say this because I'm right there with you, and I have said this to local Democrats and people who are paid to be Democrats that what they're doing isn't going to work because they're stupid. But this is a long-term project.
Sure,
the more people who get involved and vote, the closer we get to fixing this whole thing. And I think you're right that it's going to all come crashing down. It doesn't have to if people realize what voting does. And that's why I think this refugee crisis may be exactly what we need. Because people who have thought like you in this state, just talking about Texas, most people in this state agree with you. And they don't vote. If they did, it would change overnight. And I think that if you can show them that, on the one hand, you have these people who are going to go down there, stand on boats in the Rio Grande River with automatic weaponry, and pose so that they can feel like badasses trying to shoot children.
Yeah, that was our governor and Fox News talking head guy.
Right. Sean Hannity and Rick Perry. But it's not just them. Because, there's a million pictures now of Texas politicians on the Rio Grande with machine guns.
Okay. That's weird.
It is super weird because they know that the people who fear brown people vote. And so that's why they do that. Okay. And if they thought that people like you were going to vote, that would stop immediately. So look at what Blake Fanthold is doing currently. He is walking this in. Blake Fanthold, who is our congressman here in Corpus Christi, Nueces County, up and down the coastal bend. Duck Jemmy, douchebag, gap-toothed motherfucker. He is currently in a lot of trouble because on the one hand, he can't afford to piss enough people off that they start voting by saying what you said last week. Send them back. Don't care if the kids get executed. Don't care if they get bullets to the brain. Fuck them. He can't say that because that will motivate people to vote who don't currently vote. At the same time, he's got a bunch of these racist motherfuckers behind him who vote for him consistently, so he can't say, let's take care of them. So he's walking this very fine line. And if people would just call him on it and vote their consciences, things would change immediately.
And I know immediacy is an important thing for you. And like I said, if I look at the evidence that is apparent right in our own, in our government, the Tea Party has made extremely huge leaps in just 5 years that they've existed.
Yeah.
I think since I was a senior in high school, so I think it's been about 10 years.
Yeah, and so if they can do that in 5 to 10 years, I think that as far as immediacy goes, that's amazing, and I think that could be very easily achieved by other groups as well.
Okay, I challenge you guys.
Okay.
To bring to me a campaign, a party, or whatever you want to call it, that has a fighting chance, probability, a favorable probability to make lasting change in a short fashion. If you can't do it, then I don't see.
But here's the thing:
you're just gonna deem everything as not being worth it, as not being worth the time, as not worth bothering about it. That's the problem that we face.
I don't trust any politician.
I agree with you.
And I'm not going to vote for a politician that I don't trust.
Let me throw in what Jeff Grime in the chat room is saying, and he says gay marriage. Oh, god damn it! You guys need to stop talking too much. Gay marriage. God damn it.
Well, here's my bit on it. You don't have to trust the politicians. You can trust that they want votes and that they want campaign money and donations to their office. So if you can trust that much, at least about them, then you know if you have enough supporters behind your opinion, then they're going to support yours.
Right. It's a plutocracy because those people show up. It would be a democracy again if you showed up. And it starts with one person, and it's a long game because look how much time we've spent trying to convince you. Mm-hmm. We have to do that for most of the population of the state of Texas.
Sure, give me a plan to do that and do it effectively.
Motherfuckers won't do it.
Give me a plan to do that and do that effectively, and I'll get behind it and I'll fight for it.
The plan is, here, I'll give you the plan. When you go to the voting center, you look at all the different bills to vote on, and you say, hey, I agree with that, I don't agree with that, I agree with that, I don't agree with that. That's the plan.
No, that's
process.
an ineffective plan.
No,
it's an ineffective
plan.
It's
very effective.
Because again, one person isn't going to make the difference. You have to get all of those people behind it.
No,
you do.
It's a long game. Look at gay marriage.
I get the long game.
Which
what
is
I'm
what
doing is the long game.
What? No, it's not.
No,
you're
not
not
with this.
fucking doing the long game because you're not actually
game.
doing anything about it. You're not. You can sit there and bitch about not being represented and not actually doing anything. But if you're not voting, then you can't sit there and bitch about nothing being done.
I'm not bitching about it.
You're not playing the game. You're not playing the game.
Yes, you are. You're sitting here saying nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to get done.
If I was bitching about it, I would have brought it up. You people brought it up. I'm not bitching about it. I'm answering your responses.
You're doing
and
nothing.
What I was talking about the long game is what I'm talking about with Burners Without Borders. I'm doing the long game there because there's a reasonable, probable way to change this. Give me a probable, reasonable way that we can make an effect and get all of those people behind it that need to vote. If you come up with a plan to get those people on board and all of those people to vote.
What you are doing is you are replicating what you did and failed at before. You're replicating Occupy. Occupy failed because you exerted no political influence whatsoever. You got media on your side. That's it. You got no power on your side because you don't do shit. You do a lot of meaningless bullshit, okay? I mean, literally, when I was talking earlier about the cleanup stuff, that is something that I think is very important, so don't get me wrong. Corpus Christi Atheists will continue to do that. I think it's valuable to do.
And even Occupy was important as well.
No, it turned out to be meaningless.
Well, the idea was important.
Generally,
yes, the idea was important. The actual movement was useless because it accomplished nothing, because it wielded no political power. So what you have to do is reclaim your political power because we outnumber them.
Sure.
We outnumber them.
Sure.
And it's because people say, well, there's no real reason to do it. And everyone's saying that. If everyone stopped fucking saying that, we would do it. So if you got on board and started trying to convince your people to do that. And I convinced my people, and Susan convinced her people, and Reb convinced his people. Reb's already convinced.
Your stance kind of reminds me of when someone was like, well, if they'll go, I'll go. And the other person's like, well, if they'll go, I'll go. And then they just keep on going in circle. Well, if they go, I go, they go, they go.
It just takes somebody to say, okay, I'll do it.
And I see what you're saying, but if that were the case, you guys are going, so I would go. That's not the case. The case is the fact that I don't think there is enough. Nobody has shown me a reasonable, viable way for enough steam to be built in a reasonable amount of time, 5 or 10 years, behind the causes that make a difference.
5 or 10 years, it can happen.
Okay, then show me the plan.
Look what happened.
Lay out a plan before me that says, this is the game plan. This is how we're going to do it, and this is
You
why it's going to
stop
work.
getting in the way. You stop getting in the way, and you start pulling your fucking weight. Look at what has happened with LGBTQ rights in this country in 5 to 10 years. They went from being completely out of the picture to having a majority on their side. And it's not because they sit around saying, well, there's no fucking point. Why care? No, they were out there. They were visible. They did shit. They voted. We went from every vote. We came from Republicans putting up gay marriage on ballots because they knew they would get fucking bigots to show up to vote for them, and they would win elections outside of that, to the point where they don't want it. They don't want that to come up on the ballot because people don't care that. Right. So get on the goddamn boat. Help us move this shit instead of standing in the way and saying, eh.
And there didn't need to be an actual organization set up that said, hey, here's our platform and everyone's got to vote this straight line. Everybody get together and do this. It really starts with the individual. The gay movement started with the individuals. The Tea Party movement started with the individuals.
Sure, absolutely.
You know, all these different things started with the individuals.
Sure.
Jay, you are the individual.
Individuals
be that individual
can make a difference.
And vote.
Yes.
But I don't believe that you're going to
You're not going to be that individual is what I'm hearing.
Would you quit putting words in my mouth? I don't believe that this individual is going to make enough of an effect without all the rest of those individuals. Yes. So again, the reason I am involved with Burners Without Borders and the very ambitious task that we've taken upon ourselves to do is because someone said, look, this is what I think can happen. This is how I think it can happen. These are the steps that we're going to take. This is the path we're going to follow. This is a game plan. This is what we're going to do. So you guys do that and show me a way that this can happen. Bring to me a fucking game plan.
Exactly what you're talking about.
But the Burners, the voting isn't an ambitious thing. It's easy. It's simple. It doesn't take that much. You don't need a plan for it.
Voting isn't ambitious. No. What is ambitious is getting all of these people that you guys are telling me are out there to vote.
We're talking about you.
That's the different thing.
We can't get you to vote. So, I mean...
Sure. Right.
Right. You're the problem. You are the embodiment of the problem.
Okay.
You are the person stopping the change.
You know I can be convinced to do this.
Yes.
So fucking convince me.
What else do you need?
I just told you.
What else do you need?
Show me a game plan that says, look, this is what we're going to do. We know that there are X amount of people, and there are, blah, 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 and this is the statistic, and this is the demographics, and these are the people that we're targeting, and this is what we want to do, and this is how we're going to go about getting those people out to the polls. This is what we're going to do. If you do that, maybe I'll get on board.
PV Baby in the chat room makes a really great point. You motivated a lot of motherfuckers to get off their ass and write to podcasts who have never written to podcasts before. Last week, you are someone who motivates people to do shit, even if it's like horrible, horrible shit.
Here's the thing you don't know about, Jay.
Stop standing in the way and start helping. Pull your weight.
Here's the thing that you don't know about, Jay. When I get behind a cause, I am a very motivational person. I'm a natural leader, and people will follow me if I stand behind a cause and I believe in it.
And right now, what you're doing is you're trying to recruit people to do nothing, and that's not helpful.
Oh, no, I'm not.
For voting. For Borders thing, obviously.
No. I know that's not what he was saying, because I'm not trying to recruit anyone to do nothing. It's not at all.
You're trying to convince people that it's worthless to do anything.
No.
That's what whether you're trying to do that or not, that's what you're actually doing.
Okay.
And your speech matters. It's not I'm just sitting here not doing anything. Speech matters. Your speech proved that it matters.
Sure.
Because last week, we got all the letters about people.
Sure.
And now some of those people, if they listened again, will probably see, hey, this is a guy I agree with. Maybe there's other things I might agree with him too that might also motivate me to do more, like voting.
So you can make a difference.
So you guys come up with a game plan.
Just vote.
That's
Come up with a game plan.
Vote your heart and what you agree with.
And once we convince you, then we can move on to the next motherfucker.
Doing it
And
on an
we-
individual basis is not going to work.
That's how it's always worked.
That's how it works.
Okay, okay.
Because
I
here's
take,
the-
I
no,
take
no,
that back.
no.
I take that back. I take that back. Okay, doing it on an individual basis is what works because you have to address people
Yeah.
personally in
Yeah.
order to convince them.
And
Absolutely.
I
But
have
show me
to-
a bigger way. You show me the game
It's a
plan.
call to action.
You
It's
show
a-
me the game plan that's going to make this work.
The action plan is we stop wasting time on you. You get on board. I have then created a voter. You go out and create one. Reb go. We
Until
actually
you can, until
two.
You literally made me
until
one
you
last
convince
week.
me. Until you convince me that it's worthwhile and that there's an effective way to do it, I'm not going to go out to convince anyone one way or the other.
Our show created a voter. If everyone gets on board and decides instead of either being dead weight, instead of being dead weight, or actually what you're doing, which is
Pulling back. on
pulling
the
back
bus.
on the progress, we can create more. We're
Was it
only
once-
halfway through the month right now. This is, I mean, less than that. We've had 2 episodes that have been out there. We have reached 4,000 people. Okay, and that's just us dicking around once a week.
Okay.
and so we
We're
have an
beating the
impact.
we're beating the same horse. So let me change this just a tad. Okay. How many times in the 44 episodes or 43 episodes that we've been doing this?
Sorry, Alcoholico in the chat room says "fuck you, Jay." I love
I
it.
saw that. Okay, so how many times have you ever heard me plug something?
But you plug your opinions all the time. I agree with that.
Okay,
I disagree
how many
with
times?
that.
How many times have you heard me plug an organization?
But we're not asking you to plug an
no,
organization.
that's
we're
not-
asking you to plug
Hold on.
participation.
What does it have to do? Okay.
Okay, I'll finish this
Answer the
thought.
question.
Okay, so maybe once, if I can, I can't even think of it. Okay,
I
and
can't
I've run
think
a business for the entire time I've been doing this, and I don't even plug my business.
I've plugged
okay,
it.
you have, and I appreciate that, but I don't plug things that I don't believe are going to be extremely successful, and that there's a viable way that it's going to happen. Since I've gotten on with Burners Without Borders, I've plugged that on the show
Couple times.
3 times.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, it's because it's something I believe in. The reason I believe in it is because someone came to me with a plan, with a game plan that says, this is our goal, we have a mutual goal. This is how we're going to accomplish it, and this is how we're going to accomplish it faster than what you guys are trying to say. And obviously what you're trying to tell me is not sinking in. The plan that you guys have right now isn't jiving with Jay's shit over here.
If you
so
don't-
come up with a new fucking plan
The
to
new-
convince Jay,
your-
and I'll stand behind it.
Your current plan is going to go nowhere. It's
Well-
going to be bullshit if you don't exert political
Well,
power.
to address what you're wanting, like why the first show I did, I remember you were talking about like once you get like 10% of the population to start
tipping
doing
point.
something, it'll tipping point, and it steamrolls, and a lot more people jump on board once they see there's more people that are doing it. So why it would be successful is if you do go individually from person to person and convince each person to person, and those people go out. Once you get to that 10% marker, then you would have a steamroll of individuals
Yeah,
who would
it
then
snowballs.
continue to vote.
I understand that principle. I understand that cause. Why hasn't it already happened?
Because of people like you. You're not doing it. You're not on board. And
You're right, I'm not.
But you could be.
But you could,
I could be.
You could do it
But
today.
you gotta convince
you
me.
And
You do realize that this
Well,
argument that you guys keep rehashing
Well, let me-
isn't going to
let-
change
let me
my
ask
mind.
You this. What would it take for me to convince you?
A game plan that says this is how it's going to happen. Show me numbers. Show me statistics. Show me how this
just
can work.
did that.
By
What kind of game plan specifically? Like if you could come up with a game plan that would convince you to start voting, what would it specifically look like?
it would look like data that says if we do this.
Well, we just gave you the 10% data.
Apparently, I missed the premise of the 10% data. I thought you were pulling it out of your ass.
That once
No,
you get 10%
no, no.
of the population to support an idea, it snowballs.
It's
and more
inevitable.
people
Okay,
so
jump
how
on it.
It's inevitable,
how are we gonna
scientifically.
so let's talk about the data about how we're going to get that 10%. Let's talk about the specifics.
so-
let's look at it.
That's
n-
what
from a 10,000
grassroots
What we're talking
organizations
about is a
do.
10,000-foot view.
Right.
Let's
Okay.
get below that. Let's get nitty. Let's get gritty.
Well,
let's
let's
get dirty.
talk reality. Here's where it's. Let's start with the gay community. People came out. They said, "I'm gay," and then people around them said, "Hey, I'm okay with that." And then they told other people, "Hey, I'm okay with gay people." And then they met other people that were gay and said, "Hey, I'm okay with you."
Sure.
And so on and so forth.
It was
And
a cultural. It was a
spreads.
cultural
So
mind shift.
Right.
we are this show, like maybe 12 people right now, and we have made at least one voter. You're going to be another. If we all did that,
We don't need to get to 100%.
That's
We just need to
10%.
get to 10%.
So there's another obstacle here.
Okay.
Beyond that, it's finding something and someone worth voting for.
No, you
Doesn't
don't
matter.
have to vote
No,
for people.
how does it not
You
matter?
vote,
really
for,
doesn't.
you vote for bills.
Okay, and I will vote on specific issues, but
Here's-
I will not vote for people if
and
I
that's
don't believe
okay.
that they're going to affect positive change.
you are never going to find anyone who you agree with 100%.
No, you're right.
Okay.
And I accept that. That's great.
Okay, great. So you can vote for people that you don't agree with 100%. Once you demonstrate, this is what the Tea Party did. Once you demonstrate that you can wield political power, that what you vote for happens, people start bending to your will. This is the story of John Boehner's life. John Boehner, who is the Speaker of the House, lives in hell right now because he co-opted this Tea Party madness bullshit.
Okay.
And he is now a slave to it. So he knows they're crazy, but they vote. And they got rid of Eric Cantor, who
Was right below him.
right, second in command. He's gone
Okay.
because the Tea Party wanted him gone. They wanted crazy people in there, and they got it. If you wield the power that the Tea Party wields, people bend to your will. So people like they hate John Boehner because he's not crazy, but he will.
He still has to pander to those people.
Right. He has to pander to those people. And that's all you need is someone who will fucking pander to you because you can fire them. That's all you need.
So it's
That's
not that you
it.
trust the person.
So
you
let's
trust
manipulate.
that.
So let's manipulate people who
Yes.
we don't trust.
Yes.
In order to put more
Yes.
people that we don't trust.
You make it in their
power.
you make it in their best interest to do what you want them to do.
Whenever the Tea Party came to prominence, not only did they vote in new candidates that were Tea Party, old candidates, the incumbents that were there, went from just being regular, plain old Jane Republicans to being Tea Party Republicans. They shifted their platform to appease the voter, which, if you have your 10% voting population and everyone agrees on better social issues, those same politicians will then come back to the center and start pandering to those people that are voting in greater numbers.
Okay.
That's the plan. That's what works. Demonstrably, there's evidence.
Okay, that makes sense. However, I don't see the plan to get all these people together to make it happen. And beyond that,
the plan is you have to do it.
Beyond that, okay, how do we get, once we have those people that we need in the places that we need them
Mm-hmm.
to better our situation in what we see, our opinions, how do we get them to do things like make lasting change to our government, like taking money out of politics,
Sure.
like ending the plutocracy?
Absolutely.
Like, how do we get that to happen?
Here's the
I
thing.
don't see that ever happening.
Here's the thing, and this is what
Ever.
This is what I've been talking about since the beginning of this show: is withholding your vote being as absolutely as important as giving your vote. But what you're doing is saying, "I'm not going to vote for anyone." You are therefore irrelevant. For me, what I'm saying specifically, and like I said, I've said this on episode after episode after episode. I haven't said it recently because I think people are bored with me saying it, but if your vote has a price, it's valuable. Your vote currently doesn't have a price. Your vote is currently, you're not going to vote for the opposition. You're not going to vote for these people so they don't care about you. They write you off. Me, I'm saying I'll vote for you. These are the things I need to see happen before that happens. And if it's close, then things start to change. And that's why I have called repeatedly on this show, not just post shows, but shows, do not vote until they take you seriously. If you are the kind of person, because I will say that
I understand what you're saying. I grasp what you're saying.
I want to make sure I just get this out, is that I view people who will vote for a Democrat, any Democrat, doesn't matter, every single time, as useless as I view you. Because your vote doesn't matter. They can count on
Sure.
it. If you go to, and we should really have,
You have to convince those people.
we should
too.
have Wesley Reed on this show, and we should talk to him about this stuff. He'll do it, because I think that when you tell people, "I'm not going to vote for you unless this is what I'm getting out of it," that's when your vote actually matters. If they can count on it, you're going to want to move that, bro. It's going to fall right off. if they can count on your vote. I mean, literally local Democrats in Nueces County say, "What are you going to do? Vote for the Republican?" If you're willing to look at them in the face and say, "I'm willing to vote for none of you motherfuckers until this happens," until you. Episode number 1, we had the Democratic chair of Nueces County on this show, and he said, "I would support Blake Farenthold if he put a D by his name." That's what you get if you vote for anybody.
Blind,
if
yeah.
you vote for nobody, you get Blake Farenthold anyway. So you need to be involved politically, because cleaning up the fucking bowl, it's bullshit. It does nothing. You're worthless.
Really?
Yes.
As far as
You
the
can-
political,
You can
power
clean
is
that up
concerned.
from now until eternity. You, all of your descendants, you can all be dead, and that shit will still be there because you have exerted no political influence whatsoever.
and
And
the
that's
guy
actually
that-
where you're wrong.
Well,
no.
Because there is a plan in place. The reason I told you this, there's a whole fucking plan in place, and there's a political war that's been going on for a long time. And what we're doing is we're undermining that political war.
Well, and that guy that-
it's thought out. It's
It's bullshit.
calculated. No, it's calculated. It's
It's
thought out.
bullshit.
And
Well, no, that guy
Like
that on the
Occupy?
commercial-
Okay.
Like Occupy?
That guy on the interview that talked about changing culture, right? The right that was talking about changing culture. That's exactly what voting is trying to achieve too. It's trying to change the culture of the politics so that the people will agree with your point of view, so that they will push the policies that push forward that. So, like, say if your platform is we want clean beaches, then if you voted for that, it would change the culture of the politics, and the politics would then pass bills that would try to keep the beaches more clean. So that would be the culture change.
laws are not going to change the culture of use.
Yes, they will.
No, they won't. They've shown that.
No,
The
no,
laws
no,
are there. The laws
no.
are there.
No, no,
Hold
no,
on. The
no.
laws are fucking there.
No. What we're talking.
They're not enforced.
That's the problem.
That's a
Yes,
problem.
That's
Enforcement.
and that's
we're
political.
doing,
That's
what-
political.
What we're doing is political. What we're doing is we are being
don't
the
see it.
sword. We are being the sword of Rene Garcia. We are doing what he doesn't have the funds to do. And by doing that, we are making it easier for the
never-
GLO. We are making it easier for the GLO to hang onto the property rather than sell it, because it falls into the. I care
Well,
because if those beaches fall into the hands of Nueces County, what you're looking at is fucking Florida. You're looking at a beach that is entirely. The fucking island is already being commercialized. That beach is going to turn into
should
Florida.
be.
No, I'm done. I'm out.
Well, no, here's the.
I'm not
let me-
talking about this right now. I'm too fucking riled up.
Let me reword what Christian's saying, because I don't think he's saying it very well.
No, you just keyed me up a little bit too much. If I continue talking about it, it's going to turn into a shit show like last week.
Well,
It's post show. We can
Because
do shit show.
that was a trigger. Because that's bullshit.
No, it's not.
it-
No, this is
Let
the
Rep-
last.
let
This,
Rep-
this
let
is
Rep
this
take
is the last. This is the
Let the Rep
last
take it.
stronghold of seashore in the entire fucking world that is uncommercialized. To commercialize it further, oh no.
and let me reword what he's saying. Let me first start off by saying I do agree with you. I don't think it should be where it's at. But while you can, just a second, you guys. While you guys can go and clean the beach each day, every week, and while that does change the culture and it will influence people to continue to clean the beach and try to keep it clean, where that comes in, that even though there are laws that say no, that you can't do it, the enforcement isn't there. But why isn't the enforcement there? It's not because citizens don't want clean beaches. It's because the funding isn't there. We don't have enough
These are
boots,
true-
and all the rest
things.
of that.
Yeah, that's true.
But that gets accomplished through political means,
Very, very slowly.
very slowly, but it would get done eventually.
Unless
Not the way the things that have been going. It's
Well,
been this way
if you
for
can-
generations.
Because
you
there's
can-
no political power behind it yet.
right. If you can convince people like you to vote, it changes
Get your
Then
overnight.
burner
convince me
people
to
to vote
Then
for
convince
that.
me to vote.
Apparently, we can't.
Because
I've told you how.
if you wanted to get more
Give me
funding
data.
for,
Give me real concrete.
We already
things.
have
if you want to get
10% tipping point.
Sit it down in front of me. Give me fucking data.
if you say you want like a beach cleanup bill, a bond to go through, you would get your burner people, for instance, to go through, sign a petition, say we want a bond that will put money towards having the beach cleaned up and enforcement raised. then you get that put onto
Not the answer.
the ballot.
Throwing money at it isn't the answer.
It's one answer.
It
And
is.
it's the enforcement is the biggest part because there's no one there that drives by every once in a while. and makes sure people don't
Okay,
do it.
what you're saying is that having the policeman there to tell people that, hey, this is a bad fucking thing to do, that's not the way you change culture. That's not.
Yes, it is.
No, no, it's not.
It's one way. It's one way to change
That's
culture.
one way you say shake a finger at you and say no, that's bad. Those people
No,
need
no,
to understand
if
it's
they're-
bad and take care of it them damn selves.
Or they
Here's-
face a consequence for it.
Exactly.
They shouldn't have to face a consequence.
This is what. Yes, they should.
No, they
This is
If they
what.
do it, they do need to face the consequence for it.
They need
Negative
to realize that the
reinforcement is one way to do it. But there are other ways. What are
What?
the other ways to do it, Jay? You haven't actually.
The fact of the matter is there is a consequence if they continue doing it. They just won't see it because they won't live long enough to
Right.
really see it. And in this case, actually they will, because they will have what they know today is their beach stripped from them in the next 5 to 6 years if we don't fucking do something.
They're
Because
not going to
it
care
will.
about that. They won't care about that.
No, they're still going to shoot their
These are
guns
peop-
on it
these
because
are-
there's no
Fine.
enforcement.
That's fine. Again, enforcement isn't the way. Affecting communal change and saying, look, this is part of your community. Take care of it. You want it to be free, like it is right now?
So would
then
ed-
fucking take care
so
of it.
would
Hey, look,
education
we're,
be-
gonna we're gonna put out trash cans, and guess what? We're gonna come pick them up. Just put it in the fucking
me-
trash
So
can.
would education be one possible way?
Absolutely, education.
So you could get a bond going to help push education measures to get those kinds of
You're
things.
throwing money at the problem.
You're throwing votes at the problem. And education costs money.
Which again is throwing.
Well,
money at
trash
the problem.
cans cost money.
Sure. And
What do
we
you
can
think-
raise that money without having.
But there's
to deal
nothing
with
wrong with money. Currency
ahead,
is
Christian.
good.
What do you think changed in this country to go from a place where whites only counters were?
It was a culture shift.
What do you think was at the heart of it? What do you think changed it? I know the answer to this question.
What was at the heart of changing racism in
How
our
did
country?
how did it change so quickly? I mean, we had
I
200
don't
years
know the
before
answer.
the
I
we had
don't.
200 years before the Civil War.
I don't know what.
We had 100 years after the Civil War. Nothing changed. What?
I don't know what.
Laws, political will.
Sure.
We made it illegal.
And yet racism still
And-
exists today.
Not near as bad as it used to be.
You
though.
look at poll numbers in
Sure.
the 1950s and
It's better.
1960s.
It's way better.
Yes,
Way better.
Way better. And
Is
you
it-
know why? Because there were legal consequences. Laws become culture shifts, and the same thing with marriage equality and LGBTQ
There's
rights.
value in what you're saying.
It's
There's merit in what
because-
you're saying.
It's because you get to that 10%, and 10% is nothing.
There's merit in what you're
is
saying.
you going out and convincing one fucking person.
There's merit in what you're saying, Christian. I'm not disagreeing with that.
That's the
However,
plan.
It's too fucking slow.
No,
Well,
it's
how about
not.
this? How
5
about
to
this?
10 years.
I'm not rehashing this shit all night. I got shit to do.
What if you did what you're going to do with your burner people, and you also vote?
Again,
What does it hurt?
Why can't you
Again.
do both?
I will give you my
It doesn't.
vote.
It's not going to hurt anything.
I will give you my vote when you show me that it's worth it.
But it doesn't cost you anything.
I just told you how it changes things.
I'm leaving, guys. This is getting stupid. We're just talking about the same shit over and over
I
and
know
over
because
and
you're
over and over and over and over
you're
again.
ignoring facts again.
Okay.
So, all right, that's the end of the show, guys. See you next week.
Later, guys.
I think that was a good conversation.
It just got boring. And over
Well,
and
because
over and
you
over
can't
and
say
over and
anything
over.
else.
I told you what you need to do in order to convince me.
No, I got it.
Okay. This is something I was trying to say. Regardless of how many times y'all go up and clean those beaches and how many times you try and tell people and get your word out, we need to keep these beaches clean. We need to make sure that they, stay with us. If the people who are the reason that you are having to clean up those beaches don't face some kind of consequence for fucking that stuff up, then they're going to continue doing it. Your reach is going to effectively be completely useless.
That may
Everything
be
that you
the
do
case.
is going to be useless
That may be
until they have to face some kind of
The
consequence.
consequence that we're looking for is everyone next to them going, "Hey, dude, that's not cool. Pick it up."
And you really think that's going to have more of an
Did you
effect
see- did you see what-
than somebody saying,
And I
"Hey, you have to pay a fine"?
I think that's
I
good
think,
though.
I think
What-
driving
what-
people to pay a fine. There's already laws in place that make it illegal.
They're not.
Well, what you're doing is good, and I think it will make a difference. But you could do more than one thing to make a difference.
And it's
though.
way more slow than what we're talking about. What you're doing is super slow.
That's entirely possible. It's super slow.
Not
I think
entirely
it has
possible.
I think it has more lasting change when you actually
Oh, yeah, it
convince
can
people
change, yeah.
with positive reinforcement rather than negative reinforcement.
Which, well, you got 5 years until you
Well,
said
there's
the
no
national
data.
seashore was
Give me
gonna
data
buy it.
that supports that, because I can give you data that shows you that we had 200 years of slavery. We had 100 years of Jim Crow laws. What changed
So put
it
the
was
data in
political
front of me.
power.
So put the data in front of me.
I just did. I just told you.
No, put the data in front of me, okay, and show me in numbers what your plan is, how this is going to happen. Convince me that it's worth my time.
But why aren't you listening to what we're telling you?
I am listening to what you're telling me.
Could you do
but I
something
need to
with-
see it in paper.
Could you do something without numbers, though?
Can I do something without numbers? What do you mean?
No, like, say you don't have any numbers for voting. Could you still do it even though you don't have any concrete numbers that say it works?
I mean,
even if you're not convinced of it?
Okay, I'm completely misunderstanding.
No, I mean,
Can I do
what does it hurt you?
because it literally costs nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't really take all that much time out
That's
of
more
your
of a
day.
principle thing.
But
In the
But
what
what
does
if
hurt
it
me?
did help, even though you don't have any evidence for it, or you're not fully convinced for it?
So it's either that it'll do nothing like you say it does, or it'll actually do something.
I guess
You-
what,
you
that comes down to-
placing-
that comes
you
down to the
placing-
principle.
You placing your vote for what you
I get what you're
believe
saying.
in
If it
is
doesn't
not
do what I
actually
do.
going to do you. It's not going to do you harm. It's only either going to.
And
It's actually only going to do good because
and-
it's going to be another vote counted for what you believe in rather than.
And to use your own logic against you, is that not like saying, well, I'm going to believe in God because
It's Pascal's wager,
It is
basically.
Pascal's wager.
But it's Pascal's
Except-
wager. With
Yeah, but
no
this
negative
is
evidence.
actually something completely feasible.
With something
This
that
is
you
not-
know
this is not
hap- with
strictly
facts.
An idea. Yeah.
You've seen it work
This is
in the
not.
past.
I understand what you're saying. I get it. That becomes more.
It's like Pascal's wager after you've died, and you have evidence that God exists.
Yeah.
That